Just then, Tanjiro arrived at the special training location after a long series of days recovering from injuries, making the Sound Hashira very happy. And Tenjin immediately boasted that he was still well after the battle with the upper ranks, just had to wear an eye patch. As for Tanjiro, he also thanked everyone. Thanks to them, he was able to return alive after the battle in the swordsmith village. And when he arrived at this special training, Tanjiro seemed full of energy. Although he had just finished recovering from injuries, Tanjiro still easily completed Tenjin's exercises. Furthermore, Tanjiro felt very vigorous and not tired at all. During their lunch break, the Sound Hashira's 3 wives met Tanjiro again, and Tanjiro bowed his head and thanked them for helping him during the previous battle. But all 3 thought that they were the ones who were saved by Tanjiro, so he didn't need to be formal. Meanwhile, the Sound Hashira was still urging the swordsmen to eat properly, and if anyone skipped a meal, he would make them train harder that afternoon. Hearing this, the whole group had to obediently sit and eat, and no one dared to argue. Tanjiro also had to eat heartily to prepare for the afternoon exercises. While eating, a young man asked a comrade to switch night patrol duty so he wouldn't have to go to special training the next morning. This slightly disappointed Tenjin, who didn't expect someone to be so lazy to train. And that evening, the night patrol group, consisting of 2 young men, went through every corner of the town, but saw no demons. They heard that the demons were targeting Nezuko, so now they weren't appearing randomly. One person wished that the demons would just stay away like this. As soon as he finished speaking, his comrade suddenly disappeared into the alley, leaving the young men extremely panicked. But it turned out his comrade was just joking around, and the young man was so scared he almost wet himself. Just then, a noise in the alley scared both of them, so they decided to go back immediately and not continue patrolling. And behind them, the eye of upper rank 4 Nakam was still washing over the neighborhoods. This is a type of blood demon art that allows her to observe everything even while still in the Infinity Castle. With this ability, upper rank 4 has located the positions of many swordsmen, including Muakuro. And currently, he is running towards the temple where the Wind Hashira and Serpent Hashira are sparring. Although they both unleashed their strongest techniques, the final result was a draw. And when Muakuro arrived, he asked to join the training with the 2 older brothers, because normally he only trained with weak swordsmen and didn't feel it was enough. The Wind Hashira saw this and said this was the Hashira special training he wanted, and to respect Muakuro, both the Wind Hashira and Serpent Hashira would be his opponents. Even knowing it was 2 against 1, Muakuro was very confident and not scared at all. He immediately activated mist breathing and dashed past the Serpent Hashira, surprising him. And after exchanging a few sword strokes with the Wind Hashira, the Serpent Hashira also jumped in to join the fun, making the temple full of smoke and dust. On this side, the Rude Crow was cheering for Muakuro but got hit by the Wind Hashira's air slash. After the battle, the Wind Hashira felt that he had trained very effectively today, and if he trained like this every night, it wouldn't be bad at all. Muakuro revealed that Tanjiro had just arrived for special training at his place not long ago. Soon he would fully recover from his injuries. Hearing this, the Wind Hashira had to admit that this kid was very resilient. The Serpent Hashira planned to stuff Tanjiro's mouth with onions when he came to his place for training. The Wind Hashira also planned to show Tanjiro that his strength was far from matching the Hashira. And seeing the 2 older brothers so determined, Muakuro was very happy, hoping Tanjiro would try harder. Returning to the training hall, Muakuro continued his strict training sessions. Although the swordsman seemed exhausted, the Mist Hashira still felt it wasn't intense enough. So he asked someone to bring out real swords for practice, making the swordsman extremely panicked. Even Tanjiro was worried, not expecting Muakuro to go that far. A young man assigned to fight the Mist Hashira was so scared he didn't dare to step forward. Indeed, Muakuro's pressure was so great that the young man's body was covered in sweat, and his hands and feet trembled uncontrollably while holding the sword. And he had to fall to his knees and apologize to Muakuro, hoping he wouldn't be punished. But the Mist Hashira felt that just not attacking blindly was already much more mature. And that young man also knew that the Hashira fought very harshly, because every morning the Mist Hashira would return with a body full of injuries and treat himself with cold water, so he promised to train more diligently from now on. The Mist Hashira said that everyone was doing very well, but it wasn't enough to defeat the demons. However, he still hoped that no one would lose their life to the demons, because the Mist Hashira truly wanted everyone to live a long life. From the next day on, Muakuro trained Tanjiro to increase his speed of movement during combat. Nuakaro continuously reminded Tanjiro to flexibly switch between relaxing and tensing his muscles, and Tanjiro's body movements improved very quickly, surprising the Mist Hashira. Immediately after that, the Mist Hashira happily announced that Tanjiro was qualified to go to the next Hashira. Hearing this, Tanjiro was very surprised because he had only trained here for 5 days, and although the Mist Hashira was happy with Tanjiro, he suddenly became harsh with the other young men because they still had to stay here and practice swinging their swords until they became proficient. Hearing this, everyone felt unfair, not expecting the Mist Hashira to show such favoritism. Seeing the tense atmosphere, Tanjiro came up with an idea. He immediately invited Muakuro to compete by throwing paper airplanes. It turned out that before, Tanjiro had asked the elder Kanamori about Muakuro's hobby, and the elder told Tanjiro that the Mist Hashira really liked folding paper airplanes. So Tanjiro challenged Muakuro, saying that if he lost, from now on he had to speak gently to the other swordsmen. Hearing this, Muakuro immediately accepted, and at the same time warned Tanjiro not to dream of winning against him. Meanwhile, the other swordsmen were very touched that Tanjiro went out of his way to help them. Immediately after that, Muakuro made a rule that if Tanjiro won even 1 out of 10 rounds, he would be considered the winner. Because the Mist Hashira was very confident in his paper airplane throwing skills, he was willing to give Tanjiro a handicap, and the elder Kanamori would act as the referee to decide the winner. In the very first round, Tanjiro's paper airplane landed first, so Muakuro won. In the next round, Tanjiro's airplane hadn't even flown halfway before it landed. And seeing Tanjiro lose continuously, the elder Kanamori and everyone else had to cheer for him. But in the end, Tanjiro was utterly defeated in all 10 rounds, making him incredibly frustrated. Seeing Tanjiro's miserable defeat, the swordsman challenged the Mist Hashira on his behalf, and everyone boasted that they were champions at throwing paper airplanes and so on. The Mist Hashira saw this and happily accepted. But it turned out the whole group was just amateurs who had never played this game before, so Muakuro had to teach them. Seeing everyone suddenly united like this, Tanjiro felt very happy. But as soon as he finished folding a paper airplane to challenge the Mist Hashira, the rude crow ruined it. Finally, after a morning of folding paper airplanes, everyone threw them up into the sky together for the first time. Everyone was happy because their airplanes flew very high. Among them, Tanjiro's airplane went first, as if he was carrying everyone's hope. And they all hoped that the future would always be as smooth as that, because in a while, Muakuro, Tanjiro, and everyone here would enter the final battle. But now is the time for everyone to enjoy happy moments together. That afternoon, Tanjiro told Muakuro that Muzan was actually targeting his sister. However, the Mist Hashira had also anticipated this the moment the Hashira special training began. Although Tanjiro was feeling a bit sad about having to be away from his sister, if Nezuko traveled with him, it would be very dangerous, because the demons would gather together. Therefore, Tanjiro will complete this special training to become stronger. By then, he will return to pick up his sister. Hearing this, Muakuro felt that Tanjiro was always very optimistic. Tanjiro revealed that it was because Nezuko was being taken care of by his master, who is someone Tanjiro trusts extremely. And Muakuro stated his determination. He wants to fight alongside everyone and defeat the demon lord Muzan at all costs. After leaving Muakuro's training hall, Tanjiro set off for the home of Love Hashira Mitsuri. And as soon as he arrived, the two of them were very happy to see each other after a long time. Furthermore, Tanjiro smelled the scent of honey all around the house, so the Love Hashira happily said that spraying honey and butter on bread was incredibly delicious. Mitsuri even invited Tanjiro into the house to drink black tea and eat pancakes, making the young man wonder if he was attending special training or enjoying himself. After a while, Mitsuri brought out a beautifully buttered pancake, looking very delicious, to invite Tanjiro. Mitsuri even carefully cut the cake into pieces and fed Tanjiro, making the young man incredibly happy. Thinking this place was heaven, but to his surprise, the Love Hashira took out an outfit and told Tanjiro to put it on. It turned out that every young man had to wear a ballet dancer's outfit to participate in Mitsuri's special training, and her exercises mainly focused on training the swordsman's flexibility. She even played music to dance more professionally. Mitsuri said that to improve swordsmanship skills, one needs a very flexible body, so she divided the swordsmen into pairs so everyone could help each other train. Seeing Tanjiro's pair not doing it correctly, Mitsuri went to his spot to demonstrate for everyone. After that, Mitsuri spread the other young man's legs wide, causing him excruciating pain. Although Tanjiro was very scared of this exercise, the love Hashira did not let him off the hook. And when it was Tanjiro's turn, he screamed desperately. After completing the special training at the love Hashira's place, Tanjiro went to the serpent Hashira Obanai's place. But before the young man could even say hello, he was immediately threatened with death by the serpent Hashira. It turned out that Obanai had heard everything from Mitsuri since Tanjiro arrived for special training. Before that, Mitsuri had written a letter to the serpent Hashira, saying that she had eaten cake and drunk tea with Tanjiro. She even said they were very close, making the serpent Hashira livid with anger. Therefore, the serpent Hashira was determined to give Tanjiro a hard time. With that, the serpent Hashira led Tanjiro to his special training area. And Tanjiro was very bewildered when he saw the swordsman tied up horizontally and vertically on poles by the serpent Hashira. The serpent Hashira said that Tanjiro's mission was to swing his sword while dodging those obstacles. Tanjiro asked and found out that these swordsmen had taken a lot of the serpent Hashira's training time without improving. So if Tanjiro didn't meet the serpent Hashira's requirements, he would also be tied up there. After that, the serpent Hashira threw Tanjiro a wooden sword and demonstrated once for him to learn. Holding the wooden sword, the serpent Hashira unleashed continuous slashes. They were fast and accurate, astonishing Tanjiro. He couldn't believe he could swing the sword and hit the gaps between the swordsmen at such a speed. And when it was Tanjiro's turn, the swordsman prayed to the heavens, hoping he wouldn't hit them. Seeing Tanjiro hesitate, the serpent Hashira told him to hurry up. As a result, Tanjiro still managed to hit the targets in the gaps, but at a turtle's pace. This greatly annoyed the serpent Hashira, so he personally stood up to be his opponent, and the two of them would stand on opposite sides and attack each other through the gaps. Initially, Tanjiro took the initiative to attack, but the scared expressions of the swordsman made him hesitate. So he was hit by a painful blow to his side by the serpent Hashira. With no other choice, Tanjiro had to try harder to fight the serpent Hashira. But before the young man could even swing his sword, the serpent Hashira hit him a second time in the stomach. And the serpent Hashira didn't allow Tanjiro to rest, but still made him stand up and continue training, so Tanjiro felt that this was his horrifying training period. Although the two of them were only training with wooden swords, if anyone was hit, they could be seriously injured. While Tanjiro hadn't attacked even once, the serpent Hashira could still stab his sword through the narrow gaps between the swordsmen, and his sword strokes were incredibly fluid, making Tanjiro continuously get hit. Although they were using the same type of wooden sword, the serpent Hashira could still weave through the narrowest spaces, looking just like a snake. As for Tanjiro, before he could even swing his sword, he heard his comrades begging, "Please don't hit us." His hands even trembled so much that he accidentally poked a comrade behind him. As a result, Tanjiro was hit continuously by the serpent Hashira that day. However, by the end of the session, Tanjiro was still vigorous enough to train, even though the other swordsmen had already rested. And Tanjiro said that he had to try hard so he wouldn't cause trouble for others anymore. Hearing this, the whole group felt very motivated and rushed in to train with him. Because they had too many injuries on their bodies, by the end of the day, none of the young men dared to take a bath. But eventually, they gathered all their courage and jumped into the bathtub, making their bodies sting incredibly. The next day, Tanjiro was still being hit continuously, just like the first day. And the serpent Hashira constantly scolded Tanjiro, saying that he was so slow, yet he still wanted to lunge and attack. By the end of the day, Tanjiro still had to bathe with a bruised and sore body full of injury. On the third day, Tanjiro continued to take hits and was also scolded for being as slow as a turtle. But after days of training like this, Tanjiro gradually caught up with the serpent Hashira's sword strokes and speed. By the fourth training day, Tanjiro actively sought ways to attack the serpent Hashira, and he realized that he should only focus on fighting Obanai. As for the swordsmen tied to the poles, they were like obstacles he had to dodge in real combat. So Tanjiro imagined this was a battlefield for a fair fight with the serpent Hashira. Although the serpent Hashira's sword strokes still flowed like usual, Tanjiro could now defend himself. Furthermore, Tanjiro also proactively unleashed attacks, both fast and accurate, at the serpent Hashira. Seeing the serpent Hashira suddenly increase his speed, Tanjiro immediately retreated to dodge. At the same time, Tanjiro also found an opportunity for himself to counterattack, and in the decisive attack, Tanjiro successfully cut the serpent Hashira's robe. This was also the condition for him to finish his training session. Before leaving, Tanjiro thanked the serpent Hashira profusely for helping him. but he called Tanjiro a worthless brat and warned him never to flirt with Mitsuri again. After leaving the Serpent Hashira's place, Tanjiro went to the Wind Hashira's training hall. But his friend Zenitsu suddenly appeared with a look of extreme panic, begging Tanjiro to save him. It turned out the young man had just had to crawl on the wall like a gecko to escape training. Thinking he would escape, but the scarred Wind Hashira appeared behind him, reached out his muscular hand, caught Zenitsu, and dragged him back for training. And seeing Zenitsu refusing, the Wind Hashira knocked him out on the spot and made Tanjiro carry him back. Knowing Tanjiro was here for training, the Wind Hashira warned him beforehand that he had never acknowledged him. But Tanjiro said that he didn't acknowledge the Wind Hashira either, because he had pierced Nezuko before. Hearing this, the Wind Hashira was very angry, so he was determined to give Tanjiro a beating. Indeed, after that, the Wind Hashira hit Tanjiro and the other swordsmen without missing a single time. And now Tanjiro understood why his friend Zenitsu had such a terrified look earlier. Actually, the Wind Hashira's training was very simple, just everyone lunge and overwhelm him. But the result was that every young man was beaten to a pulp by him. Even had to fight until they fainted. Zenitsu, after waking up, hated Tanjiro like a sworn enemy. As for Tanjiro, the Wind Hashira hated him from the start, so he beat him continuously without mercy. Being beaten to a pulp like this on the very first day was really not good, and while Tanjiro was looking for the restroom, he saw Genya trying to say something to the Wind Hashira. Even though they were brothers, Sanemi always treated Genya like a useless guy, so Tanjiro felt the Wind Hashira was truly a grumpy older brother, unlike himself. The Wind Hashira even said that he didn't have a younger brother, so don't try to talk to him. And a guy like Genya who couldn't use breathing techniques should leave the Demon Slayer Corps. At this moment, Genya wanted to apologize to his older brother for past matters, but Sanemi didn't listen and went outside to continue training. Only when Genya revealed that he had eaten demon flesh to fight did Sanemi stop. He was truly enraged, making Genya and Tanjiro extremely scared. And while the Wind Hashira was about to teach his younger brother a lesson, Tanjiro managed to save Genya from his attack in time. Outside, Zenitsu was resting and was startled, thinking the scarred Wind Hashira had returned. So he and the other swordsmen pretended to faint to avoid training. But when he looked again, Zenitsu realized it was Tanjiro and Genya, while the Wind Hashira was furious, making Zenitsu think Tanjiro was about to be annihilated this time. Tanjiro stopped the Wind Hashira, because he thought he wanted to kill his younger brother. But the Wind Hashira said that he just wanted to chase Genya away from here, otherwise he would beat him to a cripple. Tanjiro said that a guy who doesn't acknowledge his own brother has no right to do that. Not to mention, Genya had fought desperately to defeat an upper-ranked demon, so he shouldn't even dare to try to cripple him. However, the scarred Wind Hashira didn't listen and decided to cripple Tanjiro first. With that, he used his speed to lunge at Tanjiro and delivered a very strong punch. But Tanjiro blocked the punch and gave the Wind Hashira a kick to the neck. After that, Tanjiro signaled his friend Zenitsu to take Genya somewhere else, while the Wind Hashira decided to fight Tanjiro seriously to send him to his ancestors. Since Tanjiro was staying to buy time, Zenitsu had to take Genya away immediately. But when Genya heard Zenitsu badmouthing his older brother, Genya punched him immediately without hesitation. As for Tanjiro and the Wind Hashira, they punched each other until late afternoon. And that evening, Tanjiro was punished by his superior and forbidden to go near the Wind Hashira, so Tanjiro was a bit sad because he hadn't been able to mend the relationship between the two brothers. The next morning, Zenitsu and Tanjiro set off for the Stone Hashira's place deep in the forest. On the way, Zenitsu still admired Tanjiro for daring to stand up to the scarred Wind Hashira yesterday, and after a morning of walking, they reached a waterfall. Here, Inosuke and other swordsmen were having to chant scriptures while training under the strong current, and before the two young men could get over their astonishment, they discovered the Stone Hashira also sitting and chanting in a pile of fire. According to the Stone Hashira, the body's center of gravity is the most important thing, and only when the hands and feet are strong can the body be balanced to attack accurately. So his first training exercise is standing and chanting under the waterfall. After that is carrying 3 large logs and pushing a boulder over 100 meters. As for the exercise of sitting in fire, it is a bit dangerous, so they will skip it for now. Hearing this, Zenitsu fainted, so the Stone Hashira asked Tanjiro to just throw him into the river. Since it was winter, the water was so cold that Zenitsu woke up immediately. But even after getting ashore, the young man still felt unbearably cold, And when he heard the swordsman say the rocks were very warm, Zenitsu immediately rushed to hug the rocks with lightning speed. Indeed, the rocks were very warm, making the holy Zenitsu feel like he was in his mother's arms. Meanwhile, Tanjiro was struggling to wade under the cold water. And when he saw Inosuke having to chant Buddhist prayers under the waterfall, he told himself he had to try harder. But just a few seconds later, the great Inosuke stood frozen in place and wasn't chanting anymore. So Tanjiro had to bring him ashore and take off his boar head to perform first aid before he woke up. Tanjiro also tried standing under the waterfall and found it both heavy and cold. And the young man Murata advised Tanjiro to chant Buddhist prayers continuously to stay focused. Furthermore, the sound of chanting also lets comrades know that you're not dead yet. So both young men had to grit their teeth and chant Namu Amida Butsu under the waterfall. After a while of struggling, both had to go hug the rocks, while their bodies trembled uncontrollably. Tanjiro felt this exercise was truly hell on earth. Murata thought Tanjiro and Inosuke were amazing, because he had been training here for 10 days and still hadn't gotten used to it. For lunch, Tanjiro grilled fish and invited everyone to eat. And Inosuke was the one who ate the most, because he ate up to 10 fish and still wanted more. He even ate the bones and said that was the best part. While eating, Inosuke told everyone that the Stone Hashira was a very strong person. Saying he was the strongest in the Demon Slayer Corps wasn't wrong at all. Tanjiro also had to admit that the Stone Hashira was extremely strong, thanks to his keen sense of smell. However, he didn't know if the Stone Hashira had awakened the Demon Slayer mark yet. But Zenitsu didn't believe what his two friends just said at all. He thought there's no way anyone could push such a huge boulder, so the Stone Hashira must just be trying to scare the kids. Just then, the Stone Hashira pushed a terrifyingly large boulder past them, scaring Zenitsu stiff. Despite that, Tanjiro still wanted to try pushing it himself. Hearing this, Zenitsu punched him a few times, saying, "What's wrong with your head?" However, Inosuke also wanted to carry logs and push rocks, making Zenitsu feel like he was an outcast. Immediately after that, Tanjiro and Zenitsu continued the exercise of chanting under the waterfall. But occasionally, Zenitsu would get swept away by the water, forcing Tanjiro to swim after him to pull his friend ashore. And both of them had to go through many days of training to complete the waterfall training portion. For the log-carrying portion, Tanjiro also had to struggle a lot to lift the 3 logs high. And only when he completed this part could Tanjiro move on to the final part, which was pushing the rock. Looking at the huge rock, Tanjiro thought this was the most difficult part. Meanwhile, upper rank 4 Nakam was still closely monitoring every action of the swordsman with her blood demon art. She had learned the locations of many members of the Demon Slayer Corps. However, after many days of washing, she still hadn't found Nezuko, as requested by Muzan. But Nakam was still praised by Muzan, because she had developed beyond his expectations. Muzan continuously ordered Nakam to investigate the places he pointed out. And this time, Nakam discovered 2 swordsmen on patrol duty. Muzan saw that these 2 people would be important clues to help him find Nezuko as well as the master's estate. So he immediately ordered Nakam to follow them closely, and Muzan believed that in just a short time, he would find his target. The next morning, Tanjiro began the rock-pushing exercise, but it wasn't easy at all. The more he strained his muscles, the more the boulder pushed him back. Even Tanjiro's sandals ripped, so he had to go get them fixed before he could continue training. As soon as he returned, Tanjiro saw 3 swordsmen preparing their gear to leave the mountain. It turned out they couldn't keep up with this special training, so they decided to retreat to the rear. Now they could only rely on outstanding people like Tanjiro, but Tanjiro still placed a lot of hope in people like them, because with strong support in the rear, the Demon Slayer Corps could fight with peace of mind to defeat Muzan. Hearing this, they were very happy and promised to support Tanjiro wholeheartedly. Tanjiro then also motivated himself to train harder to become stronger. At noon, he returned to make rice balls for everyone. Everyone saw that Tanjiro was very skilled at making rice balls. Furthermore, he also added a lot of salt to the rice to replenish everyone's energy after the exhausting training sessions. While eating, Murata mentioned that the Hashira currently don't have successors, because any swordsman who trained with them would run away like Zenitsu. But Murata also admitted that the Hashira had to try very hard to gain such strength. As for Tanjiro, Murata praised him for cooking rice and grilling fish very well. Tanjiro revealed that he came from a charcoal-selling family, so cooking was too easy for him. And today Tanjiro even added a little miso to the rice, making everyone cry while eating, thinking it was like their mother's cooking. Tanjiro also felt like eating with them was like eating with his own family. From that day on, Hanjiro always diligently pushed the rock until late afternoon. Alright, that's the end of our look at episodes 1 to 3 of Demon Slayer Season 4. Things are just getting heated, so if you don't want to miss the next twist, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell like Tenjin Uzui smashing a demon's face. Thanks for hanging out, and catch you in the next one.